you'll see who pays the taxes. The rich don't pay taxes. That's why Donald Trump and I are such good friends. And that's why Obama hated him, because Obama pays taxes. Obama is over here. He's an attorney.
Yeah.
That's Hillary Clinton. They're attorneys.
So
this is Bush. Wait, please hear me. If you want to get an education, you better know it's in taxes. They'll never teach you that in school.
Oh yeah, I saw. I like
the same in Abu Dhabi.
I like the one of the things that you mentioned as well is when you go and take a degree in fine arts, or you take a degree in something like that, or you take a degree to try to become a technology. I remember you did mention that these things like financial education isn't really taught, and I think this is the important thing right now, that young people, particularly in my age category, really have to understand that there are a lot more things that we need to learn beyond what we're getting taught at school. And one of the things that you also mentioned, Robert, is having that mindset of an entrepreneur, right? It's not, an entrepreneur doesn't mean just someone who goes off and set up a business, but there's a mindset. Can you tell us more about the mindset?
Omar, you didn't hear a word I said. I'm just trying to tell you, the book is called Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's about a financial statement. Get the cash flow game, and then get Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright.
Okay, fine.
Wait, the whole secret is in taxes, and taxes are the same all over the world. And I will make millions of dollars. Trump will make billions of dollars, and we won't pay any taxes legally. If you can hear that, you'll really get what Rich Dad, Poor Dad's about. But if you think I'm going to talk to you about a mindset, and you can't hear me when I'm telling you about taxes, then you have a serious problem. So get Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright, and you'll see the whole world, your whole life will flash in front of you.
Done. I'll make sure to get those other books for sure. So can you? Okay, cool. Why did you create the Rich Dad Company, and how do you see it helping people improve their financial education today?
Well, anything to be an improvement. My poor dad was a PhD from Stanford, University of Chicago, Northwestern.
Yeah.
And you know how corrupt those organizations are. I mean, they're making so many people poor. Because in America today, we're loaded down with student loan debt, $1.7 trillion. And they teach them nothing about money. Why would you go to school?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. You know what I mean? So, and when you look at this thing here, this is called an iPhone. This came out in 2007. It's the most powerful tool ever created for an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And if you're broke today, it's because the gap between your left ear and your right ear, you're thinking like an employee, like my poor dad. This thing here, I know kids making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on social media. So if you're poor, the problem is between your left ear and your right ear. This thing here is the biggest tool ever invented for entrepreneurs. Or you can be an employee and it does you no good. Up to you.
And I think one of the things that you mentioned was that because we're moving from an industrial age to an information age, and of course when you do have the smartphone, that's where you're getting all of it, right?
Yeah, I'm doing this on a smartphone.
Yeah,
I'm talking to you now. I mean, I could be sitting in Abu Dhabi and making millions of dollars. It doesn't make any difference where I'm located. It doesn't make any difference.
If you mentioned Abu Dhabi several times. If you had a chance to come and visit Abu Dhabi, what are the two top things or places that you would want to see?
Well, I would love to visit Abu Dhabi because my college degree is in oil.
Nice.
And I love oil, but I don't invest in oil because of oil. I invest because I get tax breaks.
No, yes.
You understand?
I remember I did see that.
You get the gist of it. So, number one, I like your outfits, man. I think I will look good dressed like you.
Don't worry. We will make sure we'll get one custom made for you, a bespoke one.
Well, it's really sexy. It's good style. But anyway, so Abu Dhabi is oil. You guys are the richest country in the world.
Yeah.
So I like, I'm being an oil guy. My degree is in ocean transportation, oil. I worked for Standard Oil.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I understand oil. The other thing I'd like to see is the mosque, the Grand Mosque, because I went to see the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, and you cannot do anything justice by a picture. So I would love to see the Grand Mosque because it's past, present, future all in one spot that a
Absolutely.
picture or a movie cannot do. It will not handle. And then the
Absolutely.
Louvre, I went to the Louvre in Paris. I would love to see a Louvre in Abu
Yeah.
Dhabi, because that's history, that's culture.
I can tell you, Robert, you love the architecture.
Yeah, but you've got to be there. You can't see a picture of it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I went to see the Mona Lisa, and seeing it is different than looking at a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing I really like to see is I drive a Ferrari. I want to see Ferrari World.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. You would love it.
Yeah.
Robert, going back to this whole situation that we're in, and the pandemic, what would your rich dad say to you in this current COVID-19 economy?
It's fake. It's fake. It's not.
Yeah.
The number of people dying is not what they say it is. It's somebody. This economy was set to see. There's two banking systems. There is the above ground banking system. So when you look at a bank, your local bank, that's one banking system. But below the street, looks like an oil refinery. I work for Standard Oil in California, and below the street is called the shadow banking system.
Yeah.
And in September 2019, the shadow banking system went broke. It crashed. And suddenly this Wuhan virus pops up, and I go, that's very fishy. That's very fishy to me, because the deaths are not that high. So now, if you get hit by a car, you died of Wuhan or whatever it is. Senator John Glenn, his wife died at 100. Well, of course she died of coronavirus. So they're stacking the debt. I think that's why I said I have no proof on this. It smells fishy to me. It's like, I think, think of an oil refinery below ground, all these massive pipes, and cash is flowing everywhere. So mom and pop only see the stock market, but they don't see the underground shadow banking system. That went broke in September 2019. And all the guys like me knew it was coming. And so when it happened in September 2019, that's when Wuhan popped up. So and everybody's happy because the stock market's up. Unfortunately, the problem is underground. And that's why the Federal Reserve Bank, which is controlled by the Rothschild family, is in trouble. And that's what I'm concerned about. So the problem is much bigger than the corona crisis. The corona is bad if you die of it, but I'm target market. I'm an old guy. I've had pneumonia 3 times. I'm overweight. I have diabetes, I should be dead, but I'm not.
You're standing strong, sir. You're standing strong.
But like I said, the people that are dying are poor people in bad health. That's the problem.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned, Robert, you said that this is not news. This is like old news, right?
Yeah.
There was something that you said about this in an interview. Can you please give us a little bit of insight on that? Because you said you were inspired by someone, a genius in your thoughts?
I was a student of Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. He invented the geodesic dome and all this. And I hitchhiked. I went to school in New York. I hitchhiked from New York to Montreal, Canada in 1967 for Expo 67, the World's Fair on the Future. And the U.S. Pavilion was a geodesic dome invented by Buckminster Fuller. So you have a chance, go to Google or wherever you go to and look at that dome. That dome will blow you away. So as a young man, I was 20. I went to see this dome and it blew me away. It was like being at the Grand Mosque. It's spiritual. That dome, the geodesic dome, the U.S. Pavilion was unbelievable. So I studied with Fuller again at 1981, and his opening line was, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are the news." I said, "What do you mean we are the news?" He says, "What's in the news is the death of the old." Okay? So what you and I are doing right now is new. We are the news again. So what's going on in the paper about all the COVID and the economic crisis is the death of the old. What we're doing is the news today. And so that's why going to school is obsolete, because, you know, look at YouTube today. There's better teachers on YouTube for free. They're real teachers. Do you know what I mean? A real teacher is somebody who practices what they teach.
Yeah.
So I only talk about what I know about, what I do. I use debt and I don't pay taxes. That's how I make millions. But that's what Donald Trump does also. I know people hate the guy, but all politicians are hated. It's a dirty game. Anyway. So anyway, the point here is this. You and I are the news today. The rest is old. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, thank you so much. No, I love it. And you are a great teacher. Like when I look at your videos and when you do explain the whole concept about financial education and everything and the tax and every single, it's very, very informative. And honestly, I wish you were my professor when I was in school. I mean, I wish you were able to come and teach.
They would have fired me the first day.
No, you're a great educator, and this is why I think today, like, there's so many thousands of people tuning in from around the world watching you right now, and they really love it when you do give that motivational speech and everything, because at a time like this when people are kind of, you know, sad, and I think in the short run, as much as we tell people that, you know, entrepreneurship is the future, you know, I think, Robert, like you just mentioned, I think one of the things is not everybody has that same sort of like spirit of optimism or coming out that way. What do you think, you know, just a small tip. I do know we did talk about, you know, people will have to read your other books to get those tips. But for now, what do you think that people could kind of like use as an advice from yourself on uplifting their spirit and to come out of their misery?
Well, I think that's number one. Number one, you've got to choose your teachers wisely. It's probably one of the most important lessons I can pass on. I'm not saying I'm your teacher. You know, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I'm pretty good at it. You want to be a medical doctor, I'm not your teacher. You know, I don't know anything about it. So choose your teachers wisely. Number two is this thing on financial education. You have to invest in that. Schools will never teach that, because just like they don't teach about money in school, well, there's a reason for it. Because the Rothschilds run the banking systems. Okay, so they'll never teach you about this. Number three, you know, schools teach you not to make mistakes.
Yeah.
How stupid is that? I mean, you can't be an entrepreneur unless you make mistakes. You know, a baby cannot learn to walk unless the baby falls down. And, you know, but once you learn to walk, you can walk forever. And then the same as riding a bicycle, when, you know, I fell off. I still remember the day I rode a bicycle. It took a long time, but I fell off many times. But the day I could ride my bicycle, the world changed. And so that's why the schools punishing for making mistakes, they're criminals. They should be put in jail. They should have a Nuremberg trial on them, you know? And the fourth thing is that they tell you to cooperate is cheating. You know, I was very cooperative in school. They call it cheating. And today, you know, I have the best accountants, the best attorneys. I have my team. You know, bookkeepers, I have bankers, I have this. And the average American, I don't know how it is in Abu Dhabi, they have a financial planner. You know, a financial planner works for the devil. They work for Wall Street. Nothing wrong with Wall Street, but I've taken 3 companies public. I tell you, you don't have a prayer in Wall Street. You have better chance as an entrepreneur. But people will say, oh, that's so risky. It is risky. But the higher the risk, the smarter you've got to be. And most people are not willing to get smart. So that's why it stays risky. The more mistakes you make, the more I fall down, the more I study, the more I listen to the real teachers on YouTube, the risk goes down, my rewards go up. But the reason most school teachers are poor is because they're poor teachers. They're fake. They teach subjects they don't know anything about. Number 2 is they teach you not to make mistakes. Number 3, they don't know anything about money. They don't have a financial statement. And number 4 is they don't have a financial team. You know, I have the best accountants, attorneys, and all that, but they call that cheating. And so it's just this different mindset. And so the reason I'm happy talking to young guys like you, you still have a chance.
Yeah.
You know, because it takes a while to change what your mother and father said. You know, like you have to go to Harvard. Well, you don't learn anything about money at Harvard. You can become a good employee, or you can be a good attorney. but that's still over here.
Yeah.
Yes, or this. This is where the rich guys are hanging out. This is
Yeah.
Bill Gates. This is Steve Jobs. This is Zuckerberg and all that. These are the rich guys here. So
Yeah.
for the people listening in right now, you still have time. You're still young. And time is your most important asset, especially like me. I'm 73 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I made the change now when I was younger. But the longer you wait, the older you get. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And my best friend just sold his business this year for $2 billion US. He never finished school either.
Yeah.
Think about that.
You know, Robert, so you mentioned financial education is important. Getting the right circle of friends is important.
No, not anybody. If you're hanging out with stupid people, you'll be stupid too.
Yeah. So yes, of course, getting the right,
you,
yes, exactly. So getting the right kind of people.
I just tell you, my best friend in January of this year, he sold his business for $2 billion. The average school teacher will never make $1 billion. Why would you hang out with them? But you got to have friends, you know, who are really going for it. Most people are just like this.
Yeah. So you have to get a good circle of support.
Well, they sit in a little fun, they Twitter and they twat around the place and all this. I got no time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hang out with people who are going for it. So if I could leave a message to all you young people, look at your 5 closest friends. And that's who you are. I don't hang out with poor people. Okay.
That's true. Okay, so 3 things businesses and industries hurt by COVID-19 that can do right now to stay afloat. Because there's, like we said, because there are not only people losing jobs, but also businesses that are falling down during this COVID-19.
It's tragic. It's tragic. But it's their fault.
For the businesses?
My business is booming. My people's businesses are booming. But that's why I said I wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad in 1997. I created the cash flow game in 96 because I could see this coming. So a lot of my friends are doing very, very well. But all the news focuses on is all the dying of the poor people, and I feel for them. But they have, they have John Glenn's, Senator John Glenn, astronaut John Glenn's wife dies at 100. They classify her as she died of corona crisis. She died of 100 years old. They're lying to you. And all they focus on is the businesses that are failing. And a lot of them are. There's 30 million unemployed in America alone today, and that number will increase. But I just tried to tell you the real crash is taking place in the shadow banking system. It's the banking system you cannot see. But mom and pop America are watching the stock market, and that's all rigged. It's fake. So all I'm saying is this: choose your teachers wisely. You know, YouTube has a lot of great people. A lot of people think I'm the biggest bullshit artist going, which is fine. You can say that. I don't really care. But I'm going to tell you exactly what I think, and then you can decide what to do with it. Because that's the great people we're in.
Okay, so now, if you're not... Sorry, go ahead.
People cannot do what I do.
Yeah.
But
Robert, yeah.
You can do what you have to do. That's what I'm saying. And if you're young, you still have time. That's the most important thing for you.
Yeah. So Robert, if you right now, if you put finance aside for one moment, what are you doing to keep yourself motivated and everything? Like what has this moment taught you for yourself, like your own personal time? If you're not making money, what else interests you?
It's my game, man. I love making money.
Okay.
I'm an entrepreneur. I'll never stop. I retired. I wrote a book called Retire Young, Retire Rich. And a friend I told you about who just sold his business for $2 billion. Well, he and I are in that book because my wife, Kim, myself, and my best friend, Larry Clark, years and years ago, we just said, we're going to retire in 10 years. So we set this goal and we pushed each other along. We helped each other out. It's going to be on our website pretty soon. Retire Young, Retire Rich. It's a 15-minute video. But we pushed each other along. So I retired at 47. Kim retired at 37. And my best friend decided not to retire because he was making so much money. So in January of 2020, he sold out for $2 billion. That's more than most people will make. And he didn't do it in oil. He did it with debt and taxes and stuff like this. So my point here is this, is why would I stop? It's so much fun. The
Yeah.
people who want to retire hate what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's why they want to retire.
But you know, there is one thing you did mention though. You remember how earlier you said that you have a few of your health problems as well. You said maybe it's obesity or something like that.
What was that?
But I mean, are you keeping, you said that you have some health problems as well. So you're keeping yourself fit. Are you trying to like exercise and work out? Because if you want to make money and eventually you have to be in good health. So are you like taking time now to exercise more and everything else during this time?
Yeah, but I hate to tell you this, but you know who controls the health system? Insurance companies.
Mm.
So my health is often, I have what's called concierge health. So I can afford the best health care possible. Unfortunately, the average person cannot. And that's what I'm talking about, is that the people that control the banks and all this also control the insurance companies. So insurance companies in America determine what health is. That's why health is so poor. And that's why poor people are dying more than rich people. So do I take care of my health? You're damn right I do. It's the most important thing I have. But I have the money to take care of it.
That's right. Well, we're lucky you can do that, sir. So there's you know, with the talk, the name of this sessions that we're doing, this is organized by the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi. We're calling it "Stay Curious." How would you define this phrase, "Stay curious"?
Well, I mean, Abu Dhabi is the richest country on earth.
Yeah, city.
You know?
Yes, it is the richest, one of the richest cities on earth.
But in every country, you guys also have poor people, right? Just don't be one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, when I was a story of Rich Dad Poor Dad begins when I was 9 years old, and it was in Hilo, Hawaii, a little sugar plantation town, and my family moved across town, and I was sent to a rich school. You know, so all my classmates were rich white guys, and so I said, how come they're rich and I'm poor? And we're Japanese, right? So my poor dad's Japanese, right? He says, well, if you stay in school, you'll get rich. I said, Dad, you're a PhD, you're still poor. And so that was kind of my wake-up call at 9 years old. Just because you go to school doesn't mean you'll be rich. And that's at 9 years old, that's when the path split and I went looking for my rich dad. So that's why I'm saying to people today, young people especially, choose your teachers wisely.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube, look for real teachers. I'm not your teacher because what I do, very few people can do. You know, that's why Trump and I are friends. Very few people can do financially what Trump does. But there's things you can do. You could be a Zuckerberg, you could be a Bezos, you could be a Bill Gates, you know, but there's so many different ways. If you look at this little cell phone here, you know, you have more opportunity than ever before, but not if you have your mommy and daddies and your poor school teachers' ideas in your head.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is that space between your right ear and your left ear.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing is kind of shaking people up right now, saying, hey, wake up. This is only bad because you think it's bad. This is the best time to get rich. I got so rich in 2008, I thought I died and went to heaven.
Robert, there's actually a comment from someone. Somebody said that they liked your advice about going to work for free for someone. I think, yes, you've mentioned that before. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, the most important thing is I don't need a paycheck. So when I was 9 years old, my rich dad started teaching me, but he was my best friend's father. But he refused to pay me because the moment you accept a paycheck, you screw your brain up. You think money comes from a paycheck, and it doesn't. So that's why I work for free. I look for projects, and I'm an entrepreneur again. So you look at this. This is the cash flow quadrant. These work for paychecks. Nothing wrong with it. You got to have them. And then you have these guys here, the doctors and lawyers, the specialists. They work for money. But these guys on this side, the B and the I side, we create assets. So this book here is an asset. I wrote it, 25 years ago. I think every month I make $50,000 a month from this book. You know, I have friends who are a 19-year-old boy. He's using his iPhone. He's making 72,000 a month on subscriptions to his YouTube channel. Do you know what I mean? They don't think the same way somebody's looking for job security thinks. So that's the difference. It's, you know, you were saying something about its values, its mindset. There's more opportunity there than before, just because of this little puppy here, your little iPhone. You could be sitting anywhere in the world. You could be in the poorest country in the world. And you can still be rich.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was actually going to get to that point, like, you know, because the subject of our topic today was going to be like why real entrepreneurs will get rich in any economy. Because we have people here looking at us from all over the world. So can you elaborate on this?
Don't go to school. Don't hang out with poor people. Don't listen to poor teachers. Don't listen to the news. You know, be very careful. Be careful who your friends are. You know, if your friends are doing drugs and unhappy and drinking all the time, get new friends. I'm really serious about that. My friends are, I have pretty high performance friends. You know, we're all entrepreneurs. Like I said, my best friend 6 months ago, $2 billion. I mean, to you guys, that's not a lot of money in oil countries, but $2 billion without oil is pretty good. You know, I'm only I'm on a half a billionaire. He's a billionaire. Yeah. So the opportunities are immense, but choose your teachers wisely. Choose your friends carefully. I wouldn't listen to those school teachers because they're poor people.
But, you know, Robert, can I ask you something? What if somebody went to school and at the same time managed to take like the online courses that you just suggested? Let's say if it happens simultaneous, like, you know, because when we talk about education, it's lifelong learning, and education and information, as you just mentioned, like, for example, if you have the iPhone, it comes from so many different sources. So even though, for example, I'm doing my master's degree, I'm still watching and learning from your videos as well. So what if I did it simultaneously?
You're a very smart young man. No, I commend you. It's not so much, you know, you're choosing what you're learning. And you choose your teachers, you choose your education. There's nothing wrong with going to school and all that stuff, except for the residue, you know, what's left in your head. So if you think, well, I should have a high-paying job because I have a PhD, like my poor dad, that's why he was poor. Do you know what I mean? He never went outside of school. And like my rich dad went to seminars. So he went to all these investment seminars and all this. And my poor dad, being a PhD from Stanford, Northwestern, University of Chicago, he says, why is that man going to a seminar? He says he doesn't get a PhD or MBA and all this stuff. So my poor dad hid behind his diploma. My rich dad hid behind his financial statement. I have financial statements. You know, I have very strong financial statements. I don't know if you have one, but if you don't, you know, you're in trouble. The average out of 1,000 college graduates in America, 0 will have a financial statement. That's why poverty is so high in America.
Robert, in one of the videos, I took down the notes where you talked about there are 4 assets that make you rich. There was business, real estate, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, commodities as well. So like, can you elaborate on like real estate? Because there's a difference, of course. I mean, there's some people who own a house. Just because they own a house doesn't mean it's an asset. Like they live in that house, right?
Well, I think you should teach that because you know that better. It's really simple. It's in the definition of the word.
Yeah.
An asset puts money in your pocket whether you work or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I own 7,000 assets, houses. Every month they put money in my pocket.
Nice.
Okay. I also own the rights to this. This is intellectual property.
Yes.
Okay, every month's about 40,000 a month in my pocket. It's not a lot of money, but it's more money than most people make in a year.
Yeah.
I have 20 books, and I have games.
That's a great IP. Yeah.
So I have IP, intellectual property. Rich Dad is a brand. Very few entrepreneurs will ever create a brand. So that's why most people can't do what I do. But I studied when I studied business, not in school, but in seminars, I studied how do you create a brand? Because a brand is worth more than anything else. You know, the difference between Google and Joe's search engine is huge. You know, a brand is priceless. Apple is priceless. Amazon is priceless. So if I was a young guy like you, I'd say, well, how do I start a brand? Because a brand is the ultimate asset.
Yeah.
So
No, it's good. Because you do hear a lot about personal branding too. And if you can...
But Omar, that's called IP, intellectual property.
Yeah.
Okay, so then with that, I buy real estate and I pay no taxes because I'm using debt and I pay no taxes. And then I don't own any paper assets. I don't own stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs because I've taken 3 companies public through IPOs. The game of stocks is so rigged against the investor. I want nothing to do with it. It bothers my, but doesn't mean you should invest them. I don't want to invest them. And the last is commodities: gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Why? Because gold and silver and oil are made by God. Okay? Bitcoin is people's money.
That's true. Yeah.
And so the central bank, which are owned by the Rothschilds, the Fed, ECB, Japan, they can't mess with it.
Yeah.
So,
Robert, could you tell us a little bit more about your game cash flow?
yeah, it's, you know, this cash flow is, I learned everything playing Monopoly, you know, because Monopoly engages all 4 intelligences: mental, emotional, you know, fear, sadness, joy; physical, you have to do something; and spiritual. And most people, when you go to school, they tell you don't make mistakes and they punish you and all this stuff. It kills your spirit. So the reason most people aren't entrepreneurs is if they lost their spirits. Their spirit is dead. Because they're so afraid of making a mistake. They want job security. They want a pension. Schools kill the spirit. So I created the cash flow board game because, again, it's the financial statement. It's the only game in the world that teaches a financial statement. It's called basic accounting. But they'll never teach you that in school. And so I said, my accountant will tell you this. The book is called Tax-Free Wealth. If you want to find out how the game of rich money is played, it's Tax-Free Wealth, Tom Wheelwright. But out of 1,000 college graduates in America, none will have a financial statement. You know why that is?
Why is that?
Because they need people who don't know anything about money.
There's actually quite a number of messages that people were asking, can you tell us, like, how can we read a financial statement? There were some people just messaging right now.
What's that?
That were coming here. There were some people messaging on the comments and asking, how can we read a financial statement?
Well, that's why I wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that's unfortunate. That's what you miss when you listen to the ebook, or the audio book. And then the cash flow game is because you play the cash flow game 1,000 times, your brain will change. Your brain will change this way because most people still want job security. They want a high-paying job. They want money. And what the rich want is down here. It's called the asset. So the number 1 asset is a brand. It's called intellectual property. Then it's called books, tapes. Then it's real estate. And then I don't have any stocks or anything. And I have gold, silver, Bitcoin. And I have oil wells because I went to school as an oil guy. And people say, well, the price of oil is down. Well, it doesn't make any difference to me because in America, being an investor in oil, if I invest, let's say, $1,000 in oil, I get $40,000 in tax breaks day 1. So I got a 40% ROI immediately. So I don't invest in oil for oil. I invest in oil for tax breaks.
Okay, Robert, if someone was, okay, you know what, we mentioned we're talking to a lot of young people in the group right now. At what age would you advise someone to start their own business?
I don't know. I mean, I started as a kid. You know, that's because I already knew. I knew, I'll show you the picture again. This is the second book, Cash Flow Quadrant. And my mom and dad wanted me to come here, go to school, get a job. My mom wanted me to become a doctor, but they pay the highest taxes. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And then I stands for investor. This is an insider. I don't, if you have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, you're outside. These guys are inside. I'm on the inside of every deal. So that's why I don't have paper assets. I don't like them, but you might, okay? So as a young boy, my first business, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was making nickels, dimes, and quarters.
Yeah.
I was counterfeiting money. And that's what the Federal Reserve Bank does. They do the same thing. So I started very young at 9.
I was going to say, Robert, a lot of the times when there's this idea about having a business when you're very young is like having a lemonade stand and then starting from there, trying to start to sell, just to understand how to work with money and how to like deal with people, like the customer service skills and everything else. How important is it like to deal with people as a in terms of your personality and working with people? How important is relationships?
Well, obviously it's people, you've got to be good at people skills.
Because you said you're shy. You're not good at. You said somewhere in your interview somewhere that for you, sometimes you are shy in terms of like selling in your having the ability to sell, right?
I was shy, so that's why I went to work for Xerox to learn how to sell. Because the number one skill of an entrepreneur is selling. And so I spent 4 years at Xerox. I became number 1 in sales, and that's where my best friend, who just sold his business for $2 billion. He was number 1 in sales in another division of Xerox.
Okay.
So we started off as salesmen, and that's the biggest difference. But the next thing we have to learn as entrepreneurs is how to raise capital. So, the average person can't raise capital because that's a whole nother skill set. But it's also it's higher risk because you have to have good accountants, good attorneys, and all that behind you, so you don't make mistakes, and would break the law at least. So it's all communication is what it really is. So I practice that a lot. That's why I've got accountants, good attorneys, is because I can raise millions of dollars, and I don't need to work for the money. That's the biggest difference. So it's sales skills. A lot of people can sell, but they lack professional skills into the raising of capital, which is the difference.
Yeah. So of all the skills of an entrepreneur, which one would you state would be the top one as the most important one for someone to right now try to nurture while they're during this pandemic and they're staying at home right now? What was the one skill they should go and learn right now?
Sell.
Sell.
It's called communication. But the problem is that just selling money doesn't make just selling doesn't make you rich, because as this thing says here, you sell, you make money here, income, but you've got to get to the asset column. So I talk to a lot of professional athletes. They make millions of dollars a month, but they have nothing here because the money just all goes out in expenses. They buy a big house, nice car, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, but the money's always cash flowing out. That's why the most important game I created was cash flow. You've got to control your cash flow. And our schools will never teach you that. That's why school teachers are poor. They can't control cash flow. These are all cash flow lines going here. Like I said about the shadow banking system, which is the banking system below the street. It's all cash flowing. The two most important words in business are cash flow. Ask any businessman that. They know that. School teachers don't know what cash flow is. They know paycheck, they know tenure, they know job security, but they don't understand cash flow. That's why they're poor.
But then what about the people what would you say to the people who are adopting like that victim mindset right now? They feel like they're a victim of this situation. And what would you say to them? I mean, because I think with everything else, people kind of get the idea, fine, like the teachers are maybe not making that much money because they were taught to teach certain things and there's a curriculum that's set. But then what would you say to the people who have the victim mindset?
I can't, I've nothing to say to them. They choose to be victims. You're either a victim or you're a volunteer. And you volunteer to be victims.
Yeah.
So I choose, I've lost millions and millions of dollars. Millions. And they were the best experiences I ever had because I learned from my mistakes and I came back and I made more money back. A victim's a loser, you know, and
Yeah.
if you have friends who are losers, and we all lose, we all get depressed, we all get sad.
Yeah.
But if you stay there, you're in trouble. And I
Yeah.
can't help you. You need a therapist.
But you know, you are also a great therapist. I mean, because I think with a lot of the things that you've said, Robert, I mean, I'm telling you, myself and so many people watching your videos, you honestly put a big smile on my face, you know, because you say it as it is the truth, you know. Like you said, a lot of the times you were predicting, you did predict that a crash like this was going to come. You didn't know it was going to be a virus.
Yeah.
But it happened to be a virus. And I think one of the things that you did, which was great, is building this resilience. And you knew that, you know what, this is it. Because, and maybe, Robert, can I ask you this? Because, by the way, I have some of my friends who are in the Marine Corps, so thank you for your service, sir. And I want to ask you this. Did your time at the Marine Corps kind of like shape your personality and this attitude as well about being prepared for the worst?
Yeah, going back 1 second, Omar, you're going to be a very successful man because you're smart.
Yeah, thank you,
and
sir.
you have resilience. And
Thank you, sir.
You're like a big red ball. If I bounce you, you'll bounce higher. Okay?
Thank you.
That's resilience. And if you don't have that, give it up. But you have it. You'll do well. But the best thing about the Marine Corps and military school, because that's where I went, because I had no self-discipline. And I was a surfer in Hawaii. And because I had no self-discipline, my father, poor dad, said he's not going to pay for my college education. I had to pay for myself. So I had to find a way to go through school. So I got nominations to U.S. Naval Academy, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I took the Merchant Marine Academy, highest paid graduates in the world. That's why I went into oil. But anyway, the military school, people do not know, is very spiritual. We only learn spiritual words. Like the first word they teach me at military school is mission, duty, honor, code, courage, discipline. And when I went to my MBA program, those words are never mentioned. So what's happening in our school system, we're being taught by a bunch of atheists, I think, who don't really believe in spirit and all this. I'm not really religious. But that's what I was saying. You know, you have the Grand Mosque, and I went to the Blue Mosque in Istanbul. You have to visit that. You know, I went to Glastonbury Abbey in England, and when you see that, you get the spirit of humanity. Yeah. We have very strong spirits. Unfortunately, we go to war about it, but your spirit is your strongest part. And so the thing I loved about going to military school and the Marine Corps was I came out with a stronger spirit. But I meet people who go to ordinary schools, they come out wimpy. What if I make a mistake? What if I don't get a high-paying job? What if I lose my job? You know, So I don't like going to school because it turns you into a wimp. Yeah.
Robert, thank you so much. We're now approaching the end of our session. It was great. There's so many comments that have come through. So many people really praising this interview. They're happy that they got the chance to see you. You're like their financial educating idol. And we wish you all the best in all your endeavors. We know that you're going to even publish probably more books. And your podcasts are also awesome. I love them. And thank you again one more time for joining us here at Stay Curious Live Talks, organized by the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi.
Well, thank you. I mean, just remember, all of you have the potential to be a red rubber balls. That no matter what happens, you'll just bounce back higher. And that's the most important skill set you can have today. So thank you very much, Omar. Good luck to you.
Good luck, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining this session. It was amazing to have you all with Robert Kiyosaki. As you heard from the man himself, in order to move forward during this time, during this COVID-19 crisis, you have to realize one thing. It is very, very important to realize who your circle of friends are, because your circle of friends are the people that will influence you in how you move forward, how you lift yourself up. They will advise you on what businesses to invest in, what assets to try to own, and so on and so forth. And of course, yes, maybe there are some people who don't believe in going to school and everything else, and there are other people who do believe it. As you heard myself, I did mention that I think that you can do things simultaneously. The biggest skill that we all have as human beings is agility and adaptability. We're able to adapt into different surroundings at different times, and also be able to do multiple things at the same time. We don't only have to do one thing. So I do agree with Robert Kiyosaki about the number of things that you can learn outside of an educational institution. And I do respect all the fields that are there as well. And I think this is a very valuable advice that we got from Robert. I hope you enjoyed this session. But what's very important as well to let you guys know that on the 3rd of June, we do have another very, very special guest. Some of you, and a lot of you would know him right now. His name is Nick Vujicic. He was a man that is born with no arms and legs, but the spirit that he has will blow you away. Like, you guys are going to love it. So make sure to tune in with Nick Vujicic, because he's going to talk about opportunities that emerge from crisis. And that will be on June 3rd, again, 9 p.m. right here, UAE time, right here on Abu Dhabi Events. Make sure you're following, you share it. I'm going to be posting the information on the Instagram account, and you can share it with all your friends. Tell them to all block their calendars, and we will see you on June 3rd, 9 p.m. With UAE time with Nick Vujicic. One more time, thank you very much, and thank you to the Department of Culture and Tourism Abu Dhabi, the Events Bureau team, for organizing these amazing sessions. Stay curious, live talks, and one more time, stay curious, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye and salam alaikum.